Welcome back to Digi Bros. We're fighting Bugcatcher Kago. That last episode was amazing. We'll never top that.
That was a pretty good episode,
That was unbelievable.
That was a me-centric episode, and I got some you out of it.
What have I been up to that...
I feel like I haven't talked about shit on Digi Bros in years.
You haven't had shit to talk about on Digi Bros in
years. One day of me working leads to an entire, like...
Yes. One day of you, like, doing a job and getting paid for a job. And it's like just a whole cavalcade of things to say. What have I
probably
been
had
doing?
things that I overlooked just because I was feeling like shit and didn't want to talk about anything.
I recorded Insomnia analysis.
Bergsomnia.
Did you watch it?
I did not watch it. I felt like it was going to be something that would annoy me.
It probably would have.
I watched the Bergsomnia part and I was like, this is stupid.
That's a good reaction. It's funny. It's one of those videos. This is what happens with me every once in a while, right? I make something so dumb that for a certain part of my audience, it's the deepest, best thing they've ever seen. Because when I make something, look, this is what it always comes down to. Like, I'm bored. I'm trying to think of an idea for like a real thing to do, but I don't feel like doing a real thing. I just want to do something like raw. And it always becomes a commentary on that feeling.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, Jesse, my friend, he does a lot of very, like, raw, just in-the-moment, random, I had an idea and I did it things, right? Yeah. And I want to do those kind of things, but usually what it comes out as is me talking about wanting to do those kind of things. So, like, when I did the migraine reviews, which was based on his migraine review series, that was kind of the thing. It was after the first, like, BronyCon experience, like, missing all my friends and stuff, and just, like, saying all this moody shit and making a weird, esoteric video. And there's certain people who have always told me that that's, like, their favorite video I've ever done, you know, because it's so, like, raw and different and meta and all this stuff. And then, like, I did the same thing again with Insomnia analysis, but I kind of... The idea of it was to sort of escape Jesse's shadow in a way, because, like, it is that same style of video, but with enough of a twist where I just embraced the fact that I like to talk for 10 minutes about some boring subject, you know? So, like, so that's why it's called Insomnia Analysis instead of Migraine Reviews. It's like a different take on the same formula, but my version. And so I get in all deep about shit, and so, of course, there's a bunch of people who are like, this is one of my favorite videos you've ever done because it's so deep and personal, and I'm like, yeah, but, like, it's also, like, I just turned on a camera and talked to it, you know? Which I guess is what some people like. Like, obviously, I can't value that as much because it's so easy for me, whereas, like, something I really put work into is something that I'm going to value more deeply, you know? Although I do like my random bullshit. I love my Life of Pablo review. Just got drunk and ranted for 45 minutes, and I couldn't believe how interesting it was.
Oh, man. The Life of Pablo. Pablo!
But I think Insomnia analysis is a little too boring to be, like, proud of. Like, I loved the migraine reviews I did because it was, like, all over the place, and it was kind of intense. But this one was, like, more... slow, and I didn't think about what I was going to say very much before I said it. So I talk slow. You don't give a fuck about anything I'm saying right now.
I zoned out. Yeah, you're talking about you're raw. You're so raw.
In the raw, like agave.
So raw.
You know, the sugar, the agave.
Sure, yeah.
Raw,
okay.
Drink, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Squirtle!
See, Victor talks about what he's been up to, and I, like, give it my full attention and react appropriately.
Mother, you're talking about making, like, boring videos.
It's only boring because you've decided it's boring.
You already talked about, like, the Life of Pablo review and Demon Souls and shit. Like, you haven't done anything else?
I barely brought that up just now.
Yeah.
I was talking about this new thing, the Insomnia analysis. You didn't watch it.
What was there a point about it? I mean, it was raw.
It's what I've been doing.
Cool.
It's what I've been up to. I didn't sleep, So I made an analysis about it.
Yeah.
Then I haven't shit today. We did a procrastinators podcast yesterday. That was good. Did you listen to that?
I haven't had time yet, no.
It's great. It's about authorial intent.
Ooh.
It's about how nobody understands that artists are smart.
Nobody understands artists that are smart.
No, nobody understands that artists are smart. I talk about you in it, actually. I use you as an example.
Because you're using me as a shitty example of how people of the wrong side, aren't you?
No,
I
I'm
see.
using you as an example of an artist who no one understands.
I see.
Because the example I use, you fuck, is that you... Man, I painted you in such a good light in this, and now I just regret it completely.
I'm sorry.
I was talking...
There's been several procrastinators podcasts where you talk
There's
about
been
me in
one
a way
time.
that's negative, and I'm like,
One
what the hell?
time.
Why am I always the example of the enemy?
There was one time, and it was because you stopped playing Final Fantasy VII because you said it was
Yeah.
boring,
It
which
was.
makes you the bad guy.
It's boring.
That was the only time. No, this time
Fucking pity.
you were the good guy because I was explaining how
Yay.
authors have a better understanding of their story than anyone, and they know everything that goes into it.
Yeah.
And I said that in order for you to make the ye old kitten's paw, you had to sit there and explain to your fucking dumbass actor everything about the plot.
Yes.
Because he did not understand any of it. Would you not say that that is true?
Yes.
Yes.
Which, in the end, I feel like I put a lot more thought into that than I conveyed.
Yeah.
Just probably, you know, I didn't completely succeed in my mission because nobody understood, like, the things that I understood about
I
it.
think it would have come through better if it was like, if the acting was good and
Yeah.
if it was the right people.
Probably.
The casting was. It wasn't just that the acting was bad; it's that the casting was bad. But you didn't
Yeah.
really have any choice. You
Yeah.
know? If that had been a George Costanza guy, like I imagined when I first
Yes.
read it, it would have come through
what
what
it was meant
about.
to be.
You know.
Shit.
If it was not some like kind of handsome guy who you're like, why does he want to kill himself so bad? Then like it would have made sense. You
And
know?
he just flubs every delivery.
Yeah,
like
he flubs every fucking line in the script. You can't understand what the
Like,
fuck
it's
he's
not
saying.
really funny when you watch it the way it was when you're reading it, you know?
Yeah. And the locations aren't
Yeah.
ideal, you know. It wasn't a Wawa. It was like a weird
Became a
store.
mess.
Yeah, so like
Issues.
it has a lot of production issues, but like my point was that you had to explain everything to that guy.
Yes, every nuance.
Which means that you understood everything about it.
Yes.
You had to explain to him why the shots would look the way they would look. You had to explain... I mean, like, not just on that project, but when you worked with him before, you told me that you had to draw him up, like, a really extensive shot explanation for something you did. Because
I
he
always
so
do that
didn't get
anyways,
it.
but yeah.
Right.
That's...
But, like...
Because that's... I was saying something about this to Hope the other day, is that directing a film is like trying to make a painting that you have 8 artists, each of them with their own color, and you have to tell them how to make a painting.
Directing a film is
that's
like
what it's
Twitch
like.
plays Pokemon.
Yeah, like you have to take what's in your head and make a bunch of people who don't understand what's in your head like draw that, and that's the
Right.
complication of being a director, because you have to make other people do it. You can't have your hands in anything.
Right.
So that's
And
where
that
it
was,
becomes
like,
really interesting.
Because I was trying to convey that because, you know, we were talking
Sleep
about...
powder, this is bullshit.
We were talking about, like, Ben was saying how, you know, not every artist necessarily understands that they're doing, like, this specific thing. Like, say you draw a face in just such a way that it conveys this perfect emotion. Like, the artist might not be able to explain why it conveys that perfect emotion, but, like, they just innately understand it. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, that comes through a lot more when you're, like, literally drawing something and it's, like, the artist and the work right there. But if you're a director, you have to know why.
Yeah.
Because everyone else in the production has to do
Exactly.
it, you know?
You have to explain to everyone what's going on, which is sometimes very hard and a
Right.
struggle for me, because I'm not the kind of person who explains that kind of thing, but that's,
Yeah.
like, I gotta get out of my comfort zone, and, like, you know, I've been able to do it before.
Yeah, and, like, when I, like, the reason I had brought up the podcast was because a comment I've always gotten a lot is, you thought about this more than the guy who made it.
Yeah.
People say that all the time.
Which
and
is
I'm
not
like,
true in film.
there is no fucking way. Like, that I thought about a shot composition in Ava more than Hideaki Anno thought about the shot composition in Ava. Because he had to write the script, write a storyboard, draw it out, explain it to an entire team of animators and voice actors and sound directors, and make all of them understand why this was relevant.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like when you're watching a film, every single piece of trash in the background someone put there. That wasn't just there. They didn't just show up and it was there. Most of these things are on sets. Every fucking detail in the background was a person's job to put it there. So and it's fair to criticize everything because all of it's part. Everyone worked on it. The director looked at that shot and saw that in the background and went, yeah, I'm fine with that. Or move that, change it.
Yeah.
Which some people obsess over that shit. So it's like,
And we were talking about how, like, you know, sometimes when a movie is bad, it's because the people had bad ideas.
And it's a person's job just to look at the frame and find the stupid shit. Like, that's a person's job.
There's some directors who just make bad ideas. Like, they do make it intentionally. It's just they made something shitty.
Yeah.
And there's other directors who know that they've made something bad and don't care. You know, there's some who, like, shot something over a weekend and they don't give a fuck, and they know it's bad. They just don't give a fuck, or they can recognize it. Like, this
is fucking miserable. This battle is awful.
There's no writer who writes a plot hole and then doesn't know it's a plot hole. They know. They are fully aware, but it had to be done. Like, it had to get made.
They didn't have time, you know?
Right. The example I always cite being the one from My Little Pony, where I actually asked the script writer what happened in games. I asked it, like, on Twitter. I said, "What happened to Games Ponies Play? Why did the ending not make sense?" And he said there was a mix-up in the communication, and we couldn't fix it in time.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes shit happens. Of course, the guy knows it's a mistake. He's a professional writer, you know.
Yeah.
But whatever, production is weird, you know. Like, yeah, I just think, like,
oh my god,
I think no one understands the story more than the author for the most part.
Yeah.
So that's the podcast. I just re-explained it, basically. Yeah. If you don't follow the Procrastinators podcast, go subscribe to the Procrastinators podcast. The channel is called The Procrastinators, and the podcast is Procrastinators Podcast.
It's podcast.
PCP. It's great. It's me and all my internet friends talking about shit. Every episode's about a different shit that one of us took, and we analyze our poop.
Sometimes with writers, they fucking write backstories for the characters and shit that aren't even in the script just to get to know their characters and stuff. Like, they know this
fucking
shit.
Tarantino has, like, the entire life story of every character he writes in his head.
So you make those fleshed out characters, giving them entire life stories. Shit that I can't do. Shit that I don't like to do. Not a writer.
Yeah. I don't think it's always necessary to do all that shit.
Yeah.
I think it's just necessary to understand your character and who they are now at this time in the story. Like, with the character from Ye Olde Kitten's Paw, you don't know his backstory, but you definitely knew what he was. Like, what kind of guy he was at this point in the story.
Because I wanted it to be obvious that this is something that this is just how he is. And, like, that's how he operates. It's something that he's doing and he will do again, and he has done before.
Yeah.
Anyways, only to analyze that again.
Yeah. Do we have anything more to say about Pokemon?
You said we could go on for an eternity about Pokemon, so...
Well, I thought that, like, we'd have stuff to say about every game and every gen.
Not really.
But you don't really have shit to say about it, and I already talked about why.
I'll have, like, revolutionary thoughts on it.
I kind of remembered that I already did the Pokemon Lifer retrospective video, which I'm sure most of our audience might not have seen because it's old as fuck. It's from back when I was doing My Little Pony.
Yeah.
So if you've never seen my Pokemon Lifer retrospective, it's on my old channel. It's a terribly directed video. Is the best way I could put it.
Hey, that's the one.
That's the one where half of it's live action and half of it's not, and the live action segments don't work. I really tried to make them work, and I thought they worked after I'd, done enough to them, but they just don't. They're just bad in retrospect. The whole thing is weird. It's written very loosely and uncarefully, not like how most of my writing is. And then the next video I did after that is the one where I did Pokemon Y analyzed by way of Pokemon Red. Fire Red. And then I also have a text post on my blog that was 10 things I wanted them to change in the next Pokemon game. And they didn't change any of them when Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire came out. At least I don't think they did. I have not played very much of those. I bought Omega Ruby and I have played 15 minutes of it or so.
I got wrecked, man. Oh shit. Dude, I'm so fucked.
Look at it, Gray!
Look at it, Gray! My throat is killing me right now.
Well, Pokemon Whiteouts don't reset your save. They just, like, everyone you've beaten is still beaten. You just have to run all the way back.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm stuck in this spot
you
for a while.
white it out. Remember in the first games it was actually blacked out?
Yeah.
And then they changed it for some reason. It never made sense because whited out is not a thing.
Yeah. I guess the screen goes white, so it's whited out.
I think it's just that blacked out was too, like, violent sounding.
Yeah. Maybe it's a lost in translation kind of thing.
I have no idea. Yeah. What the fuck was I talking about? Pokemons?
Pokemon?
Yeah. I wrote about 10 things I wanted to fix, and, I didn't make it into a video because I quickly got the feeling that people would be pissed off with me. Like, because when I wrote about, when I did my, like, Pokemon Y by way of Pokemon Red analysis, like, I already had, like, a few comments and stuff that were, like, kind of, like, mad that I was making any negative point about the game. And I was like, if I make a video that's just negative about a game that everyone's super hype about right now, even though I've made 2 videos about how much I love it, and I've caught all the Pokemon, and I'm super into the game, I know I'm gonna get shit on for it, and no one's gonna be happy with it, you know?
But because it got a shitload of views.
No. Gamers, man, I've always had trouble dealing with gamers because they take criticism so fucking poorly, it is ridiculous. Like, not even criticism of them. Well, yeah, also criticism of them. Gamers take criticism so badly, it's laughable. If you insult any game for any reason, if you even come off as slightly negative, you are going to have people raining down your throat how you're bad at the game and how you suck at games and how you should stop playing games and all this shit. Stuff you never get for, like, I've written so much shit about anime and I almost never get comments like that. Like, at worst, I get fans of the show going like, SAO is the best anime ever, fuck you, or you're a bitch boy, whatever, and I just ban them. Like, it's no big deal. I get way more overwhelming support for my videos. Like, I've never gotten people, like, mad at me for, like, dissing anime. Albeit, I don't really make a habit of dissing shows that are critically acclaimed, but, like, with video games, I've had posts I wrote, like, when I wrote about, Bioshock Infinite, like, around the time the game came out, I wrote, like, a 4,000 word post just on my blog about how, like, all my complaints with the game. And all the comments I got were, like, people who weren't even readers of my blog complaining about how I was, like, how I didn't know how to play games right and how I'm too hyperactive and that's why blah, blah, blah. Because, like, one of my complaints was that the game gives you free control during cutscenes to go do whatever you want. So there'd be parts where, like, someone would be talking at me and I'd just be going around doing shit, you know, and I'd completely miss out on the story. And people were like, oh, they shouldn't have to accommodate for your ADD. And I was like, yeah, they should! That's their job! They're designing the game! They should be accounting for whether or not someone's gonna run around like a fucking idiot during the cutscene. If you want me to pay attention, then lock me into a cutscene, you know? You just coughed on me.
I'm sorry.
You looked at me and coughed. You could have coughed in any direction,
I naturally,
and you
like,
looked
went
at
to the
me
right.
and coughed.
It was like reflex.
Disgusting.
I'm trying to cough out of the microphone.
Stop coughing, period.
I can't.
Anyways, I feel like I'm already sick. I've already caught your cough.
Wow.
Yeah, so, like, all I got was people bitching about me being negative towards the game. When I did that video about, movement in Ocarina of Time, where I was like, I was saying how the 3DS version doesn't feel as good as the N64 version. And, like, it's still mostly a like bar, but I got a ton of dislikes, tons of bitching in the comments. And I was like, you just can't criticize a game. Gamers can't take it. And, like, that's why I've never, like...
Oh, shit. Bell Sprouts Evolving.
That's why I've never gotten super into writing about games, because, like, if you write negatively about any game, people will fucking get so up in arms about it. And, like, most of what I would want to write about games is negative. Like, most games I find something to complain about.
Look at his graph!
Indeed. So, like, that's why when I did cool girl games, it was like, I'm just going to talk about games I like and how cool they are. And then nobody watched it because the games I was talking about were games that no one cared about. So then I made a video about Dark Souls and how cool it is, and everybody watched it because everybody likes Dark Souls. You know?
Woo.
And I gave it the most clickbait title ever because it's called Dark Souls versus Bloodborne. So 80% of the people who clicked on it thought it was going to be about which one's better. And the answer was neither one's better because that's not the point of the video.
Yeah.
So it shocked everybody, and that's why it has so many views. That is the most genius clickbait title I've ever given. That and Why We Love Kuroki Tomoko. The video that I actually made just for clickbait. And I was deeply ashamed of it. It still gets tons and tons of views to this day.
I'm really disappointed because I really wanted to get Victory Bell, but you gotta trade to get it. Or do you get it? Maybe it's a Leaf Stone.
Yeah, I think he's a Leaf Stone.
That would be great.
Yeah, he's a Leaf Stone.
Yeah, I don't want to trade him. I want Victory Bell, man.
Can't trade him because
yeah, exactly. We can't trade. Eradicate. Man, fuck Eradicate.
Not that we don't own the game. We do own.
Of course.
Wait, do we own LeafGreen?
No, we own Fire Red.
Yeah, whatever.
So I'm the only one who got it, and that was it was used.
Yeah. Whatever, we own a copy of the game. It's just not easy to record off of that when we can just emulate it and it's easy. Woo! I'm getting tired and my face hurts, so this is gonna have to be the last episode of the night. You're close to town.
That's silence.
I'm starting
sleep.
the way you described my eyes before, I'm starting to feel that way about my eyes.
Very clean.
Not very clean. The opposite of clean.
Oh, it's probably, God, is it like 5 a.m. or something? Almost 6.
So how into this Pokemon Let's Play are you? I feel like this is a pretty good show.
It's pretty easy to
because now we're gonna have to now that we've run out of Pokemon topics, the incentive to not play Demon Souls is weaker. So
I mean, it's enjoyable.
Yeah, I'm having a good time. I like Pokemon. It's a good change of pace from not just playing another Souls game.
Dropping games. So.
Yeah. Well, we intend to do both. We're not going to quit Demon Souls, but we might finish Pokemon first. Who knows?
Vote in the comments.
Yeah, but it's going to be way too late by then.
True.
All right. That's it for this episode of Digi Bros.
All right.
See you in the next one.
Look at his graph!